Welcome to Alliance Attractors. It's Freedom Friday. We spend a little bit of time to talk about growth and all the amazing things we have here at eXp. And I am super excited today to have Julie Inman with me. And I've been trying to just expose a lot of people to this program because I think it's so valuable in our growth, and it works really well for everybody in our organization. Okay, and I think I don't know what it's been like 3 or 4 years that it's been set up. I think Julie will give us all the background. If we could just bring Julie up uh, to the stage.
I
And
just took the
Julie's
board
our
meeting.
director of sponsorship placement at eXp. What a cool title. Julie, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to do this for our group. I really want them to understand this NSA program and the value that it kind of brings to our organization. And so I'll let you take it over. And anytime you need me to jump in, please, I'm here.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. I don't use Zoom a lot, so bear with me here. Um, all participants. Okay. Okay. Got that set.
You're doing great.
There we go. Can you see my screen? Let's make this
Yes, we
big.
can.
Okay. Let me see if I can move this. And okay. You guys can see this?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay, so thank you, Vincent, for asking me to come talk about the non-sponsored agent program. It is literally my favorite thing to talk about. So um, it's a program that we started, 4 years ago, into 2020, actually. So 4.5 years ago. And what we do is we help agents who are thinking about joining eXp. They have questions and they don't know anyone at eXp. So those are the important factors. They haven't joined yet. So if they've already joined, that's really not what this program is. These are people that are trying to make the join decision and they're kind of out there searching online, just trying to get as much information as possible. And they just haven't, they've hit a brick wall. They want to talk to someone. So they reach out to corporate. One of the first things that we do is we screen them. We want to make sure that they don't actually have a sponsor in mind. So I do like to always address this first thing, because if someone has been talking to an EXP agent or even knows an EXP agent that could be a potential sponsor, our first goal is to reconnect them, right? To make sure that that the potential sponsor has all the resources they need, get them reconnected, and to help continue to facilitate that relationship. So the ones that come through this program are ones they don't know anyone. They haven't been talking to anyone. No one has reached out to them. So they are truly non-sponsored agents. And our goal is, with the program, just kind of a summary, it's to connect them with someone who can answer their questions, and also to connect them with a potential sponsor. So that's really the goal of the program. The goal is to help answer all their questions. The hope is that they join and that they name the sponsor that we introduce them to as their sponsor. So I'm going to kind of go through how the process works, but I'd like to just let everyone know that's who we help. We help people who they have questions, right? They don't want to make that join decision. They might only be thinking about eXp. They might be considering several different brokerages. So it doesn't matter. We help everyone. Let me see if I can move this. Am I able to hide this bar? Does anyone know down
You
here at the
just click
bottom?
on it and drag it somewhere else.
Drag it somewhere else. All right, let's go over there. There we go. Okay. So the great thing about this program also is that it can help literally everyone. So it helps the people who we rely on their expertise to answer the questions. It helps the person who's going to end up being the sponsor. It helps the NSA agent, the non-sponsored agent. It helps the company. And then it helps anyone in between in the downline, which we'll get into a little bit more detail there. But it doesn't matter if you have no one in your downline or if you have a lot of people in your downline. There is a way that this program can help you. So again, another reason why I love this program, because anyone can benefit. we kind of talked about this a little bit. The program helps agents who don't have a sponsor in mind. So what we do is we connect them, I mentioned, with two people. We connect them with a program influencer, and that's going to be someone in our program, again, who we rely on their expertise to answer their questions. And we'll get to the qualifications in just a moment. We also introduce them through the influencer to a qualified sponsor. So the non-sponsored agent is going to immediately be connected to two different people, someone who can answer all their questions and someone who's in their local market who would then be their sponsor. And again, everybody's going to benefit from this relationship. The great news is by doing this, the non-sponsored agent isn't stuck just trying to do that research online. And because of that, a lot more of these non-sponsored agents will end up joining, because if they can make a personal connection with a leadership member who is confident and who's very knowledgeable about the company, and that can tell them about not only all the resources and support and all the great things we offer, but how eXp can help them, achieve their goals. And then they're also making that connection, personal connection with a sponsor in their area. They've already started a relationship with two different people. So the chance of that NSA agent joining the company is much, much higher than if they were doing that research on their own. So I do like to always point that out. I want to get into the qualifications here a little bit. The non-sponsor agent, we talked about that. It's just someone who has not joined yet. They're thinking about joining and they don't know anyone at eXp. They don't have anyone in mind for sponsor. The person who we rely on their expertise to help answer the question are our program influencers like Vincent. So this is someone who has done agent attraction. They're experienced in agent attraction. So they pretty much know how to answer any questions that come their way. And if they don't, they know where to go. They know how to access resources, to get those answers. The minimum qualifications are just, it's a minimum of 10 FLA. So an influencer in our program has to have a minimum of 10 directs and a minimum of 50 total agents in their downline. And the reason for the 10 directs is really just about the development of the expertise and how to answer those questions. And the minimum of 50 or more in their downline is because we need a pool of qualified sponsors for that influencer to pull from, because not everyone in someone's downline is going to be qualified. Yes,
Julie, once the agent hits that level of influencer where they have 10 in the front line and 50 in their downline, do they automatically get into the program, or does somebody have to bring them into the program?
Yeah, just a recommendation, and they reach out to me and I will help get them added. So if you have anyone in your organization, Vincent, who's under you that qualifies, just get me, you can either get me their names or you can have them reach out to me directly.
Definitely.
Okay. And then the qualifications to be a qualified sponsor is an eXp agent who's in the influencer's downline. Has to be in the influencer's downline, because the point of the influencer, not just the expertise in answering the questions, but it's the development of that relationship. We want them to be an upline leadership member for that NSA agent, forever, right? So that they know that not only am I going to have my qualified sponsor, but I'm going to have Vincent, right? Or I'm going to have my influencer that I can also, my leadership member, my upline that I can also reach out to. So it has to be.
How does that come into play now that we have co-sponsorship?
So I'll talk about that in a moment. It does still come into play. So that rule still stands. So the qualified sponsor still has to be in the influencer's downline. So, and then they have to have production with eXp and 0 to 2 agents in their downline. So the qualified sponsor, it's just in the downline, has production and no more than 2 in their own downline. And that's total. So that's not frontline for them. That's total agents in their downline. And then the influencer is going to select those qualified sponsors based on location. So if we have a NSA agent in Manhattan, we're going to find a qualified sponsor in Manhattan. So the qualified sponsor needs to be local to that NSA agent. Let me come here. This is what we just talked about the qualifications for the influencer. I want to get to here that the NSA agent is looking for a qualified sponsor. We know that a sponsor doesn't necessarily have to be local. They don't have to be in the same city, state, or even country. But the reason in this program why it's required is because these NSA agents are using that as a decision-making factor, right? If they're talking to another brokerage and they can talk to someone local, they want their sponsor to be local. They have expressed that to us. And when we can't connect them with someone local, the join rate decreases. So that's one of the things that has helped this program be really successful, is connecting them with somebody local. So I do like to emphasize that. And the process is very simple. We let our influencers know when we have NSA opportunities, and we let them know what city and state they're in. The influencer then is going to request them, and then we assign them. We really try to just evenly distribute them as much as what we can, unless they have specific requests. And then we have to, meet that request. But generally speaking, we're going to try to do kind of a round robin type situation. But again, it's going to be based on the qualified sponsor being local, right? So that's going to be one of the more important things. The influencer is going to lead a three-way meeting, or maybe they have that initial call first, and they're going to answer the questions that the NSA has. They're going to make the introduction to the qualified sponsor, and talk about all the great things about the sponsor. And then the qualified sponsor is going to start developing a relationship with that agent as well. And then again, the goal is that NSA joins, names the qualified sponsor and the influencer's downline. And then obviously the influencer and sponsor would do what they would normally do. They would help them with the onboard process, and they would help them get started. Because I'm going to talk about that a little bit at the end, about some of the resources. The benefits are it helps our influencers grow their downline by helping their downline grow theirs, right? So everybody on your downline, the influencer can help them grow their downline when they might be focused on production. Most of our agents are. A lot of agent attraction for high producers just happens organically. So this is kind of a nice way for eXp to reward those producing agents through this program, to really help them start growing a downline without them having to outreach to people that they don't know. So I love the program for that reason. It's rewarding our agents. And of course, we want to thank our influencers for helping us manage the program. So obviously they're growing their downline as well. The NSA agents, that when they join, they're joining with a sponsor and with a relationship with someone in their upline. So that's a real benefit versus them joining without a sponsor, because we found that they'll produce more, and it also leads to longer retention, right? Because they become successful much, much quicker. And then I just like to kind of already talked about that. I really want to hit on this. If somebody doesn't qualify to be an influencer yet, right? They don't have 10 or more in their front line, 50 or more total downline agents, and they don't qualify to be a qualified sponsor, because some may, if you have 0 to 2 in your downline and you have production with eXp, you're qualified to be to sponsor them directly. Our influencers cannot sponsor them directly, but I really like to hit this middle group here, because I think a lot of our agents fall in this category. They're like, wow, I'm so far away from 50, I'm never going to benefit from this program, and I have 3 or more, so I can't sponsor one directly. You can still benefit, because what we do then is we just ask the influencer in your upline, who would be an influencer in our program, to look to your downline to find qualified sponsors. So an example of that is, an agent has 10 agents in their downline, and maybe 5 of them are qualified sponsors. But they themselves can't be a qualified sponsor directly, but someone in their downline can. So that downline agent could be the sponsor. The agent with 3 to 49 in their downline benefits, as well as the influencer. So it's a way, it doesn't grow your directs, but it definitely can help grow your total number. So I really like to make sure everybody has a full understanding of this aspect of it. And this is what I mean by everyone can benefit, whether you are qualified to be an influencer, a qualified sponsor, or in the middle, because we can still help grow your downline by placing placing NSAs with qualified sponsors in your downline. So I really, really wanted to hit on this today and make sure everybody understands, look, anybody can benefit from this. And then this is just a quick slide on how to find your downline. I think most people know how to, but it's in the my eXp tile, and you can get to it 2 different ways. You can click on your earnings tab, and then there's a little circle and with your number in the middle, and you can click on it and it brings up a grid, or you can go to my organization and click the grid. But why the grid is really important is because you can sort. You can sort by city, state. You can also see the date of last transaction, or at least you can see the cap percent, so you can quickly find your producing agents. And then on the left side, there's a little arrow where you can click it, it'll show their downline. So you can pretty much find whether or not you have a qualified sponsor in your downline within a minute or two. The way that they have that set up is pretty efficient, as long as you have access, you're logged into your OPTA. Obviously you have to be logged in there. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on is the majority of our NSA agents are going to be new agents. I'd say 75 to 80% are going to be, they are either brand new agents or they are previous agents who have been inactive, and they're coming back into the industry, and it's like starting new for them. So what I always let everyone know is we love new agents, right? Everybody was a new agent. All the successful agents out there, they were new agents at one point. I know sometimes people will shy away from new agents because they don't want to take the time to train them. So I like to remind everyone that eXp has so many trainings and systems in place if you just plug them in. So I think if you have a process, and maybe you guys do already for your new agents, I'm sure you do. But if, say, you didn't, you could just utilize what eXp already offers. So when a brand new agent joins, you want to make sure that they are attending all of these trainings. You want to get them in the Fast Start series, the Fast Cap program, all of these things. And then also you want to make sure that they have all the resources that they need. I think a lot of frustration with new agents happens because they don't know how to access what they need. So I feel like a sponsor's responsibility is just to be a good tour guide of eXp. If someone can be a really good tour guide and just make sure that their downline agents know what we offer and how to access it, I think that's great. And so we encourage you guys to do that. And then of course the mentor program. So everybody should be pretty well versed on that. I do like to point out that if any of your agents ever have, an issue where it's not a good match for the mentor, I find a lot of people don't realize that they can actually change their sponsor. So they can put in not sponsor, I'm so sorry, mentor. They can put in a request to change their mentor. So I always just like to throw that in at the end. If for any reason one of your new agents, it's just not a good match for whatever reason, not a problem. They can put in a request, change their mentor, and get a good match. So that's the program in a nutshell. Do you guys have any questions?
Julie, I want to go back to when the program started 4 years ago.
Okay.
What was the reason why this was set up? Because from what I understand, it wasn't, there wasn't always a search for sponsors for people that requested information about eXp.
That's correct. So it was really just, it was as eXp grew really, really fast, right? Faster than what sometimes back-end systems could not necessarily keep up with, but keep up with at the quality level that Glenn wanted, right? So I'm sure you guys have noticed in the last couple of years that it's really all about agent experience, right? Improving the onboarding process, improving outreaches, from agents. So they're trying to give their agent, eXp agents just first-class service. And this was kind of the same thing where agents looking to get information about eXp, they were really just kind of left on their own to search the internet or reach out to eXp agents on their own, or maybe an eXp agent reached out to them. So what we realized we were missing were the ones that didn't know anyone. They were just reaching out. And obviously on a corporate website, there's always a contact us button, right? So if there's anything that anyone wants to, communicate to the company, whether a lot of times it'll be an agent, they want to know how to get their 1099, or maybe it's a complaint, or maybe it's an agent who can't get into their OCTA, but that we started getting people that said, hey, I'm looking for information. I'm thinking about making a switch, I'm looking for a new brokerage, or I'm a brand new agent looking. So we started seeing more and more of those. And I think that just kind of happened organically. But as we started receiving more, we realized, hey, this is a great opportunity, not only to help get these agents information and kind of increase the number of joins for the company, but then we realized, wow, we could really help our producing agents that we want to help, right? That we want to reward. eXp rewards agents in many, many ways. This is just one of the additional ways that they chose because we could.
Julie, I think that right there is I think the key, right? So I came from a company that also had some sort of sponsoring residual. And in the 14 years I was with that company, I was never given one sponsor. Okay. And if
Yeah,
anybody ever requested information, they would take it for themselves. And I thought that was the case for EXP until this program came out. And I saw that if somebody inquired, you're going to make your best effort to set them up with a local sponsor. And
absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
it's like giving away free. I think this is the best program that EXP has uh, overall, right? Because you're really just giving us free opportunity.
Yeah.
Julie,
I,
I want to
yep.
understand the flow. Like how many people come, how many people inquire about EXP in a given month?
Okay. I'm going to try to unshare my screen.
Great
Yeah.
question.
And then turn on your camera. Your camera went off.
My camera's off as well. All
Yeah.
right. Forgive me, guys, because I don't use Zoom very often. Let me
I
move
could
this
stop.
back
I
over
could stop
here.
your share.
Okay,
There
here
you
we
go.
go. Share
Mhm.
screen. Okay, and then now my screen's gone. I just need to, there we go.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So the flow, you're talking about like numbers, like
Yeah.
the flow kind of
Yeah.
what look at. Okay, so actually it's a great question because I really want to give props to my team. I think we have the one of the best teams at EXP. They are operating at a very, very high level. So what happens is when agents are, Googling information or whatever about EXP, if they don't have anyone, they kind of deep dive. Then they end up ultimately at our main site, and we'll click that contact us button. So, and it's not a very long button, right? We just get the essentials: name, email, phone number, what their level of experience is, and what their question is. And we do that, and then we also ask them who have they been talking to, right? Remember at the very beginning, I mentioned our primary directive is to reconnect them with someone that they've already been talking to, or they've talked to in the past, or that they know, anyone that could be a potential sponsor. So that's kind of another value that my team brings, because sometimes I'm sure you guys, this has happened before, but you've been talking to someone and you lose contact, and then they reach back out again. Maybe they've lost your number, or they just don't think to reach back out to you, and they go to the corporate website. So half the people that register, we're reconnecting them with their potential sponsor. So I always like to let everyone know that we're never going to put someone through this NSA program if they have a potential sponsor. So the other 50% that we talk to, my team will reach out to them multiple times. So we obviously, it's just like a buyer seller lead, right? You're not going to get them on the first call. So my team calls, leaves messages, texts. We call until we reach them, or we get to the point of diminishing returns, and that's about 11 call attempts, and we reach about 90% of them. So when we send over an NSA agent, there's already a lot of effort went in, to contact them, and we really try to get the information for influencer and qualified sponsor that we feel will be most helpful on that call. Obviously, the basics, where they're located, where they're licensed, the basic questions that they're looking for, but also what they're looking for in a brokerage, what's most important to them, because that's going to help the sponsor and the influencer realize, these are the goals, and they can kind of focus on how EXP can help them achieve those goals, right? That's what they all want to know. So our team extracts that information. And then we'll put them through the NSA program, which kind of I talked about a little bit, where we're going to post the opportunities to our influencers. Our influencers will check their downline and then request them, and then we try to distribute them as evenly as possible.
So many of them come through. Every single day,
Yep.
there's a message from Julie saying, "Hey, we have this many opportunities in this neighborhood or this town in this city." And I'm just trying to wrap my head around how many inquiries come into EXP monthly on, hey,
Oh,
to change
I would
brokerages.
say on average, a minimum of probably 300. Yeah.
Minimum
Yeah.
300 a month.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, not all of them are going to be NSA agents, right? And
Yeah.
some of them are, it's like any other site, right? Some are going to be global because they just registered on our site. We're going to send them to, the country leader. Some of them are going to be EXP agents that just didn't know how to who to reach out to, and they need support, right? So we're always going to direct them to support. Some will have their own sponsors, but what's left will be those NSA agents. So just it takes a lot of effort to drill those down and get to them.
I got to tell you, I've received so many incredible agents through this program. And you
Yeah.
mentioned that a lot of them are new agents, but
Mhm.
some of them are not. Some of them
Yep,
are
correct.
teams. Some of them
Yep.
are broker owners. Some of them are just great producing agents, and some of them are just rock star brand new agents that don't,
Yep.
just need the right guidance.
Yep.
So I have
Yep.
some people in our organization right now that came through this program that are absolutely killing it. Okay. And
I
it just
love
makes me
that.
so happy to be able to help somebody in our organization, get kind of started in
Yep.
sponsorship, right? So the
Yep.
idea is you put out a list, right? You reach out to the
Yep.
influencers and you're like, hey,
Yep.
we have somebody in this area looking for somebody local in this area, this area, this area. It's like a list of probably like 8 to 10 every time you shoot one of
Hmm.
those
Yep.
messages. And then it's our job to look on there and say, where do we have representation in our organization
Yep.
uh, with somebody that qualifies?
Hmm.
Now, if I think of, hey, I think of Long Island, I'm thinking of Juan Fernandez, okay? And he doesn't qualify. He's producing, but he has too many people in his organization. But
Right.
what I could do is think beyond Juan and say, okay, who in Juan's organization
Exactly.
qualifies,
Yep. That's
right?
exactly right. Because Juan will benefit, and you want Juan to benefit because he's a producing agent. You want to reward him. Um,
Yeah.
he's busy producing. So you're going to help him
But
with the
what this
attraction.
also does, what it also does is it gets let's say the person in that organization, they have 0 to 2 people in their organization, right? That's what allows them
Yep.
to qualify. They produce
Yes.
and they have 0 to 2 people.
Yes.
And so we're assuming that they haven't gone through the sponsorship process that often. Okay.
Correct. Yes.
So my job is to reach out to the NSA agent,
Yep.
connect with them, and then set up a 3-way Zoom call with the NSA agent and the potential sponsoring agent, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And then we run through everything and they see that they have resources from that agent, resources from myself, and resources from eXp as a whole, right?
And
So
they've
it
already
shows
made
at
connection.
multiple level.
Yes. And they've already made that personal connection with you and the sponsor right out of the gate. They're not
Yeah.
going to be alone.
So Carla had a question. She said, at our local office, agents can go through our own training, bypassing the traditional eXp
Yep.
mentorship. We have a dedicated training program for agents that join eXp. Would this apply for those that decide to join under our group? Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I always like to point out those resources because sometimes people are tentative with regard to new agents because they feel like it's going to be super time consuming to get them up and running. And I know in Vincent's organization, you guys know how to get a new agent up and running. But I always just like to remind people that eXp does have those resources. If there's something that you guys don't have the bandwidth for, or want to focus on other things, then you can utilize some of those resources for new agents. But I love that because again, it's a team environment, so the chances of that NSA agent becoming successful quicker has now skyrocketed, and we love
Yeah.
that. Yep.
So I think there's 2 things that I look for when I'm trying to place these. And I want to
Yep.
understand every single person on this call. I want you to think up in your organization. Okay. Because within your organization, within those 7 levels of support that you have the influencer that is opened into this program,
Yes.
right? So then
Yep.
that means that you have access to these NSA agents. So then you have to make sure that you qualify. So if you're not producing, go out there and produce, right? Because then if you produce, you get access to NSA agents, right? The free residual income. The second thing is, if you are producing, take a look down and see who else you could give this opportunity to. right? So everybody in this entire organization has a role to play here. And that's pretty much to identify who can give you the leads and then identify who the leads can be given to. Right, Julie?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yes. And one other thing you had mentioned earlier, when the influencer is looking at their downline for a qualified sponsor, the ones that are most successful are going to be the ones that select a qualified sponsor in an area where they have a hub, right? So if Vincent has a large number of people in the Manhattan area, those are going to be agents that this new agent can connect with, right? They have a local family already. Versus if Vincent says, "Oh, I have one agent in Wyoming, let me request this one," right? That's not going to go over very well because, for one, Vincent's knowledge of that market's not going to be as strong as the knowledge of the market where he works. Same thing with the sponsor, but the NSA agent now only has one local person, in that organization. So influencers are most successful when they select qualified sponsors where they have a hub of agents. So.
Yeah, Chris's question, he just wants to reiterate, I guess, who has access to those NSA agents? What
Okay,
are the
so
qualifications?
okay, the qualifications to be an influencer in the program, and that's going to be the person who's going to request them and select the qualified sponsor. That's going to be an agent at eXp who has a minimum of 10 directs. It doesn't have to be FLQAs, just 10 directs. You have personally attracted 10 agents to eXp and a minimum of 50 in your downline. So you have to have both of those things, 50 total and 10 directs. If you don't have that many, and you have 0 to 2 agents in your downline and you had production with eXp, you would be eligible to be a qualified sponsor, and an NS agent, you could actually sponsor them directly. If you're in between, then what we would do is we would have the influencer in your upline look to your downline. So even if you have 3 agents, right, you're like, oh, I only have 3. How can that work? Well, you look to the 3, and if one of the 3 has production, we know they don't have 3 or more, right? They have 0 to 2, so they would be a qualified sponsor. And then it just over time, you can continue to do that. If you have 15 or 49 in your downline, right? You can get your upline influencer to look to your downline to place those agents. Vincent says, check your upline to see who has those qualifications. If you have them, reach out to me directly and I'll work to get you added. If not, look to your upline, right? And whether it's your sponsor or your sponsor, and see who might qualify, and then ask them if they're interested, or connect them with me. You can message me their name, or if you need help with it, you can reach out to me directly. I'll help you look at your upline and we can see who qualifies. But we need to get someone in your upline to be an influencer. That way they can request and either give to you directly or look for qualified sponsors in your downline.
Do we know how many people were placed by this program?
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys keep track of that?
We just pulled those stats recently. We've given over 10,000 opportunities, right? So
Wow.
our team has given out over 10,000 NSA opportunities, and we're at just under a 40% conversion as of now. So almost 4,000 agents have been placed. And we still have another 3,000 that are open, what I call open. So maybe 3,000 decided to go somewhere else, right? So 4,000 joined, 3,000 went somewhere else. And we've got, approximately 3,000 that are still making that join decision. They haven't made that decision yet.
That is
A lot of
absolutely
opportunity.
amazing.
And
So
that's
much
over years.
opportunity.
That's
Yeah.
over the 4-year period.
Yeah, that's still absolutely amazing. And I think it's also very important. It's not just producing and having less than 2 in your organization, because there's a ton of people that produce and have less than 2. What
Yep.
I'm looking for is somebody that's plugged in to EXP culture, EXP
Yep.
knowledge, right? Because that's what I want to pass on.
Yep.
I don't want to give this to somebody that just, hey, I've closed a deal and I have no sponsors. You know, I'm looking for
Yep.
somebody that, hey, I understand the EXP. I want to get started with this agent attraction thing. I'm already producing. I just want a little bit of momentum.
Yep.
We'll help you do that.
Yep. Absolutely. It's going to be a successful match that way. They can be a good tour guide. The NSA can reach out to them directly, or they can reach out to the influencer. But it's just that level of excitement and helping the NSA agent know all of the resources and things that are available at EXP. It can be overwhelming. EXP has so much. I always say, if you want it, like, we pretty much have it. It's just a matter of knowing where it is, how to find it, and to select, where, especially for a new agent, where do they want to focus first versus being overwhelmed with everything. And a good sponsor can help with that, or a good team leader, or a good influencer. Yep.
All right. Anybody have any questions for Julie or anything about the program? I wanted to know how the co-sponsor program plays into this.
Okay, that's a great question. So the co-sponsor program can work in conjunction with the influencer NSA program, as long as the rules of both programs are adhered to. So our program really just has a couple of rules. The influencer cannot sponsor the NSA directly. It has to be a qualified sponsor. Qualified sponsor is an agent in the influencer's downline, has production, 0 to 2 agents in their own downline. So as long as the primary FLQA sponsor is, by definition, a qualified sponsor in the influencer's downline, then the influencer, if they decide that it makes sense, can introduce them to a potential co-sponsor, right? So they just need to make sure that the co-sponsor is aware, under no circumstances can they be the direct sponsor, that they're up for the role of co-sponsor only. And it might make sense in the case where Vincent requests an NSA agent and has a qualified sponsor, but this particular agent specializes in something, I don't know, social media. And we know that there's a potential co-sponsor out there that just is a rock star and can really, really help this agent. That might be a good scenario for a co-sponsor. Or sometimes also the eXp Realty versus eXp Commercial, right? So maybe we have an eXp agent that's looking to do both, or maybe start with realty and maybe eventually work their way over to commercial. Maybe a good co-sponsor for them would be a commercial, agent. So as long as Vincent, as the influencer, selects a qualified sponsor in their downline to be their primary FLQA sponsor, they can then select a co-sponsor per the co-sponsor rules, right, which I believe is outside of the current organization.
I need to understand that again.
Mhm.
So basically, I have to select the primary agent. I can't
In your
select
down.
sponsor.
No, you can do both, but the qualified sponsor has to be in your downline. So think about it this: nothing changes with our program, right? You still have to find the qualified sponsor in your downline to be the primary sponsor. And then if you decide, you know what, they could really benefit from a co-sponsor, then you can go outside your organization and find them a co-sponsor and make that introduction.
I get it.
So you still have to abide by the rules of our program with a qualified sponsor. And then you can go whatever the rules are for co-sponsorship. And I believe it's, it can't be in the same organization, same 7 levels, something to that effect. And then whatever other rules that they might have, as long as you adhere to those rules, the 2 programs can work together very, very well. And you may not decide to introduce them to a co-sponsor, because sometimes, especially for a new agent, too much is too much and they become overwhelmed and they just end up going somewhere else where they think it's more simple. So co-sponsorship is a good tool when it makes sense, but it shouldn't be something that we do on a regular basis, because that's what's going to end up happening in some cases. But it could be where that the qualified sponsor joins, and then they think after that they might decide that they want to co-sponsor, right? I think we have 5 days. It's not long, but they do have I think it's 5 days to select a co-sponsor after they join.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, all right. All that makes sense to everyone? So we have a couple of action items to do, right? What we're going to do is identify who is the influencer that can offer you these NSA leads. Get on their radar, right? Let them know, hey, I know about this program. I want you to know about it, because some of these influencers don't even know about the program. Sadly, right, Julie?
Yeah,
like some of them,
I do outreach. I just reached out to 7 2 days ago, and only 1 responded. So I'm always like, it's an eXp program. There is no cost, because, a lot of times they'll see something like, oh, it's, it's something I have to pay for, or whatever, it takes a little effort to read the message, and then like the light bulb goes off and they're like, oh my God, this is great.
That's it,
So
right?
yes,
So
find an
check.
influencer. I love that action item.
Yeah, that's a great action item. Just double check and just make
Yep.
sure that they know that you know about the program.
And
Okay.
beyond that, ask them to request one for you. Say, and if you're in that situation between 3 and 49, look to your downline and say, let them know, I have 5 qualified sponsors in the Dallas area. If you get a Dallas NSA, please think of me. So do the
Yeah.
work for them, right? Make it easy for them. Let them know I have qualified sponsors in these areas. If an
Yeah.
opportunity comes up, please think of me. We can place them in my downline. Yep.
Because the way that Julie and our team sends this out, it's pretty nerve-wracking for us, right? Because
Mhm.
it's like a list of 10, all the cities, and we have to respond quickly to say, hey, I have somebody, and I actually have to name the
Mhm.
person that it goes to. So I have to have you ready here, the area
Yep.
that you work in, and that you have less than 2 sponsors and that you're producing. I have to
Yep.
have you here so I could put you down in time to receive that lead.
Yeah. So get
Stressful.
in your influencer's head, right? Let them know what's in your downline, who's qualified. Yep.
Yeah. So get on the radar, have the people ready. So action item number 2 is just check who is qualified in your organization to receive, right?
Yep.
And then, of course, action item number 3 is just make sure they're plugged into the EXP network, system, learning tools, all of those things.
Yes.
Anything else? Any other action items we could get from this thing?
I think you hit it. The number one is if number one is if you already qualify to be an influencer, reach out to me directly. Just make sure it's and through Workplace. I know we're going to switch over to Slack, but for now we
Yeah.
still manage the program in Workplace. As all the agents get transitioned over, we will manage it in Slack. So make sure that if you're not active in Workplace, get active in Workplace. Just make sure you're checking it every day. And if you qualify, reach out to me. Just make sure it's my .net, not my .com, right? So julie.inman@exprealty.net, because I hardly ever check my .com. If you don't, do exactly what Vincent said. Find an influencer in your upline. Either have them reach out to me directly, let them know. The great thing is if you reach out to them first and they don't know about the program, you're the hero, right? You told them about the program. They're going to be much more apt to look to your downline because that's what you want in return, right? You're asking them, hey, join this, and then look to my downline. I've got qualified sponsors here, here, and here, and then I'll work to get them added. And just make sure you deep dive into your own downline and see who's qualified and keep updated on that. A lot of people will keep a little spreadsheet, they'll download it and then update it, once a month.
Yeah. This is absolutely incredible, Julie. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
shedding light on this program and
Yep.
letting us know all about it. We really,
Absolutely. I love the program and I love that it helps everyone. So anytime. If you guys ever have any questions, you can reach out to me directly anytime. Happy to help.
all right. Rest of you guys, hey, the last few minutes of the hour, let's get into activity and get some momentum started for this Freedom Friday. All right. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the weekend.
Bye, guys.